Well, certainly it's the most exciting thing going on, and it's the holy grail. It's the big dream that anybody who's ever been in computer science has been thinking about, how hard is this? And very specific problems like speech recognition and vision, we now have systems that are better than human level of capability.
AI is really training computers, giving them methods that they can actually teach themselves and learn at such high speeds, millions of times a second, 1 billion times a second. No human being could do that kind of learning.
But it has been a dream ever since, people started, in the early days of science fiction, to have a computer that you can talk to in a natural way and actually have a conversation with and ask it to do things for you. And that is coming true.
Wow! Machine learning, neural networks, genetic algorithms, natural language processing, computer vision, robotics, all these technologies are part of the tremendous and exciting world of artificial intelligence. Good evening and welcome! Today, everyone is talking about AI. But in reality, the AI field is not new. The term artificial intelligence was coined in 1955, so more than 60 years ago. As you can see, AI is definitely not new. So why the excitement now? What is the state of AI today? What are the fields impacted by AI? What are the real-world applications? How is AI changing business and society? What about the future? Tonight, our impressive lineup of brilliant experts will answer all these questions, but they will also answer the questions you may have. So, prepare your questions. Be surprised, get excited, and feel inspired. Thank you. Before I show you the agenda, we have a big surprise for you. He's passionate about technology, and he came especially to tell us about how the authorities of Geneva are dealing with technology. He is conseiller d'État, Department of Economic Development of the Canton of Geneva. Please give him a warm welcome, Mr. Pierre Maudet.
Thank you, François. Yeah. Should I speak in French?
In French is fine.
Okay, thank you. Bonsoir, mesdames, messieurs. Merci de m'accueillir pour vous adresser un bref message. Je remercie François, les organisateurs, l'EPIA, de donner la parole au monde politique. Le monde politique en matière d'intelligence artificielle apparaît souvent comme plutôt en retard. Et je dois vous l'avouer, lorsque on me pose des questions, lorsque l'on commence à débattre d'intelligence artificielle, c'est un topic qui fait peur, qui inquiète. Et puis, quand on parle d'intelligence artificielle, dans des débats publics, très vite, on associe ça à des risques extrêmes et des possibilités extrêmes. C'est une perspective qui, à long terme, donne le sentiment qu'on va surpasser l'homme. Et ça, évidemment, dans le monde politique, ça fait peur. On aime être rassuré, on aime voir à court terme, on aime se dire qu'on va avoir des réponses à toutes les questions. Mais moi, c'est précisément pour ça que je pense que l'intelligence artificielle, c'est un thème qui doit être abordé. Je vous remercie d'organiser cette conférence. Je vous remercie de thématiser. Je pense que si aujourd'hui on ne met pas un peu de politique dans l'intelligence artificielle, qu'on ne cherche pas aussi à donner du sens et à voir comment ça s'insère dans notre société, on va passer à côté du vrai débat. Vous êtes, François l'a dit il y a un instant, mesdames, messieurs, a priori intéressés par le sujet. Alors ce soir, je vais m'adresser à vous en n'étant pas un expert et un spécialiste, en vous disant que vous avez raison de vous intéresser à ce sujet, mais qu'un des enjeux, et c'est peut-être le premier que je pose devant vous sur l'intelligence artificielle, c'est d'arriver à expliquer, à diffuser, et ceci très largement dans la population, sur ce que c'est que l'intelligence artificielle et les enjeux que ça recouvre. Un des premiers enjeux, il a été discuté pas plus tard qu'il y a quelques semaines de cela ici à Genève, à l'Organisation internationale du travail. C'est un enjeu économique. L'intelligence artificielle devrait accroître massivement la productivité dans le champ économique et social, et couplée à d'autres technologies, elle est perçue comme une menace qui pourrait accroître les inégalités en matière de revenus, des changements structurels sur le marché du travail, ces fameux chiffres que l'on ressort à loisir sur le nombre d'emplois disruptés par ces gains de productivité à un horizon proche. Horizon 2030, on parle de 80-85% d'emplois dont on ne connaît pas encore la définition, mais qui vont potentiellement être remis en cause par l'arrivée de l'intelligence artificielle. Un autre enjeu, qui là aussi est adressé ces jours-ci ici à Genève, qui est un enjeu très politique pour le coup et éthique, c'est l'influence de l'intelligence artificielle sur la formation de l'opinion. Voilà aussi un motif d'inquiétude, mais aussi un motif potentiellement de réjouissance sur la capacité de mieux comprendre des tendances globales au niveau mondial. On sait néanmoins, on le voit dans des pays démocratiques et d'autres un peu moins, que l'intelligence artificielle, lorsqu'elle est convoquée au service de certaines causes politiques, peut représenter une menace majeure sur l'évolution des opinions. Alors lorsqu'on dépeint ce tableau, et vous allez en parler tout à l'heure dans votre table ronde, il y a de quoi se faire peur. Mais il y a aussi de quoi espérer. Et c'est mon propos principal ce soir en guise d'introduction, de vous dire qu'à l'heure actuelle, à l'heure du numérique qui se répand de plus en plus, je veux voir l'intelligence artificielle comme une possibilité d'intelligence en réalité collective, comme une capacité, peut-être ici en particulier à Genève, de discuter de ces questions de gouvernance, du cadre que l'on va poser, des enjeux que ça représente au niveau économique, social, politique, éthique, je l'ai mentionné tout à l'heure, et de notre capacité, avec des organismes publics et privés, je pense ici à ISO, à SGS, mais je pense évidemment aussi à l'ONU, à l'UIT, à l'OMPI, de trouver une forme de standardisation et de cadre réglementaire qui nous permettent de faire avancer intelligemment, c'est le cas de le dire, ce dossier important. Donc je vous souhaite ce soir des discussions fructueuses. J'espère qu'elles permettront, et c'est essentiel, j'insiste là-dessus, de trouver des définitions communes, de faire de la pédagogie, parce que la population en a besoin, et puis de cerner les points précis sur lesquels Genève, cette ville internationale, avec cette densité très forte de start-up, d'informaticiens, de personnes expertes capables de faire avancer le sujet dans la logique du bien commun, eh bien que ça nous permette précisément de constater que cette fin d'année 2019, cette début d'année 2020 sera l'occasion de poser des jalons positifs pour notre société. Je vous remercie de votre attention et je réponds volontiers à quelques questions.
Oui, alors effectivement, une question pour vous. Comment s'assurer que l'IA soit une opportunité économique pour toutes et tous, et qu'est-ce que l'État peut faire, je vais la poser aussi en anglais, how to make sure that AI is an economic opportunity for everyone, and what the authorities can do to help.
Bon, alors, l'État ne peut pas tout faire d'abord. Ce que peut faire l'État, je viens de le mentionner en introduction, c'est parce que c'est ce qu'on attend d'un État qui est censé protéger ses concitoyens, poser un cadre et le faire respecter. La difficulté, honnêtement, aujourd'hui, c'est que dans le monde politique général, il y a peu de politiciennes et de politiciens qui s'intéressent vraiment au sujet et qui en comprennent la portée. Mais le sens de votre question, c'est aussi de se dire, est-ce que, en particulier, si j'ai bien compris, dans le domaine économique, l'intelligence artificielle peut être source de valeur ajoutée et finalement d'opportunités. Et je pense que précisément c'est par là qu'il faut commencer. Là je m'exprime comme ministre de l'économie de ce canton. Pour répondre à votre question, ce que peut faire l'État dans le domaine économique en particulier pour recevoir l'intelligence artificielle comme un facteur de croissance positive, comme un élément bénéfique, c'est en réalité travailler sur la formation. Et ça tombe bien, on est à l'EPIA ici, c'est le lieu de le dire, et de faire en sorte que le plus possible, dans nos sociétés du XXIe siècle, celles et ceux qui arrivent sur le marché du travail développent des compétences de compréhension et d'adaptation. Je le disais tout à l'heure, et c'est un mantra qui revient en politique, le fait est qu'à l'horizon 2030, la majeure partie des jobs auront changé. Que l'intelligence artificielle, c'est une question de base qui se pose d'ailleurs en matière de robotisation, qu'on a connue à la faveur de toutes les révolutions industrielles, casse des jobs. Le job d'allumeur de lampadaire a disparu. Le job de caissière disparaîtra vraisemblablement. Et la question qui se pose aujourd'hui, c'est est-ce que l'intelligence artificielle peut nous permettre d'anticiper et de favoriser l'arrivée sur le marché du travail de personnes qui vont continuer à travers un job à trouver une dignité, une rémunération et un sens à une activité, mais de le faire de façon à ce qu'ils puissent s'adapter à ces évolutions. Et donc l'enjeu pour moi là-dessus spécifique, c'est de montrer que l'intelligence artificielle est capable de générer également des nouveaux jobs, de stimuler une forme de créativité, et c'est tout l'enjeu après d'avoir des formations, notamment dans nos hautes écoles, qui soient à niveau.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Bonne soirée,
André.
bonne conférence.
Merci. Here is the agenda for tonight. And now, let's go with the first panel. And we're going to introduce our first expert. He holds a Master's of Science in High Energy Physics and a PhD in Computer Science done in 1975. He was involved in many research projects from 1970. He was also IBM postdoctoral fellow at T.J. Watson Research Center, New York. He has been full professor since 1982 and later chairman of the Computer Science Department of the Faculty of Sciences of the University of Geneva. He is now retired as Professor Emeritus since 2011, but is still active in many projects, essentially for developing countries and humanitarian application. Please give him a warm welcome, Professor Christian Pellegrini. you have a really interesting story to tell us. In the 70s, you worked for IBM in the US. And one day, someone brought you a box. What was exactly this box?
I must say that your question brings me back many, many years ago when I was still a young PhD. I just got my PhD since 1 year. And I received an IBM fellowship to join the research lab in Yorktown Heights. And I was assigned to the lab automation group. And the head of the lab automation group, Dr. Tony Guido, told me that I will have as a first job to try to automatize a physical experiment in supraconductivity. And in order to do that, I will have to program a new type of machine they just received. This machine was named the machine 800. 800 because that was the number of the building at IBM Poughkeepsie development plant. And I got this machine, no operating system, only one assembly language, very basic.
Okay.
And what was strange is that several years later, this machine was the prototype of the IBM PC.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing story. Thank you. Please have a seat. And we'll welcome our next guest. He has 25 years of experience in building complex software systems at the frontier between innovation and business. He holds a Bachelor of Engineering in Mechanical Engineering, specializing in aerospace from École Polytechnique of Montreal. He worked at CERN and for the European Space Agency. He's CEO and co-founder of SixSq. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Marc-Élian Bégin.
Good evening. Thank you, François. Good evening, everybody. What's the fuss around edge, right? And the matter for AI. So, first of all, a bit of definition. What is edge? Right? What is edge computing? I like to define it as your enterprise IT that is outside the data center. There's projection by Gartner and other analysts that by 2025, there's going to be about 4 or 5 times more data being processed at the edge than in the cloud, right? So there's a huge shift in emphasis in terms of data production and computation. And that's the link with AI, because the fuel, what feeds AI is data, right? To train the models, but also to actually, for AI to actually work, it requires data to take decisions. And more we see that this is happening at the edge. And this is what we're focusing on, is to enable AI deployment at the edge. And hopefully, if everything works, I'll be able to show this in action a little later.
Thank you so much. And now our next guest. He's senior lecturer at HEPIA, Department of Ingénierie des Technologies de l'Information, and senior lecturer at the University of Geneva, Computer Science Department. He has authored and co-authored more than 90 full papers in refereed journals, books, and conferences. He contributes as a regular reviewer for several international journals. His current research interests concern machine learning and multimodal interfaces for blind users and elderly individuals. Please join your hands and give a warm welcome to Dr. Guido Bologna.
Bonsoir, mesdames, mesdemoiselles, messieurs. So I'm Guido Bologna.
And I have a first question for you.
Yes.
How did you become interested in AI?
Well, at the beginning, I was interested by intelligence in general. I was really wondering, what is intelligence? It's a very difficult question. There are some form of intelligence that are more mechanical. There's some form of reasoning which is quite mechanical, and we can prove mathematical sentences, for instance. But intelligence is so complex that I was really wondering, what can I do to better understand intelligence? I'm not saying here that I have understood what is intelligence. It's still very complex. So research will tell us in the future what is it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And here is our next expert. He holds a master's degree from Mines Paris Tech with a specialization in mathematics and machine learning. He's now leading the engineering effort at Neural Concept to provide simulation engineers from every industry with powerful AI-based tools to enhance their design experience and accelerate the product conception cycle. He's Vice President of Engineering at Neural Concept. Please join me in inviting to the stage Mr. Théophile Allard. Well, question for you. You were offered to start a PhD in machine learning, but you turned down the offer. Why?
Good evening, everyone. After I finished my master's, I was going to start a PhD at EPFL in Lausanne in computer vision and deep learning. But in the meantime, I had to wait a couple of months till the PhD started. And I met these two postdocs who were starting to work on a very novel technology to replace simulations in the industry by neural networks. So I decided I would keep the PhD maybe for later, maybe for never, and focus on developing the company and working on real-world problems.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So we'll start the panel discussion. What is the state of AI today, Professor Pellegrini?
I think that the name of artificial intelligence is not precise enough because it has so many different aspects in so many different domains that it's better to use a more precise names for each of these domains. And now you ask the question, what is the current state of AI? It's difficult in just few words to describe this. I think that we all, even when you open your newspaper, you may find the name artificial intelligence for almost everything. Yesterday I was opening a newspaper with not at all a scientific newspaper, and I learned that a computer program was among the 1% top player of video games called StarCraft 2. And this was in a regular daily newspaper. So artificial intelligence is everywhere. If you buy a new washing machine, it might be of some artificial intelligence because the maker claimed that he can decide how long he will run, how many product you will use based on the dirt of your cloth and etc. But there is no artificial at all.
Yeah,
but the name is there.
Yeah. So that will be my second question for Mr. Bégin. What are the most common real-world applications in AI today?
So instead of going very wide, I'm going to go deeper, on a more specific aspect. through the lens of our experience. So 3 years ago, SixSq, my company, pivoted on edge computing, as I was saying in my introduction, without AI in the picture back then. But since we've realized that it provides a great link between AI, which is most of the work is done at the startup level at the moment, and industrial people or people that would, vertical markets that would take advantage of that AI creativity. And we actually see an acceleration factor in this space. So what does that mean? So for examples, smart city, right? We understanding traffic, understanding behavior of citizens, and how can we actually act on the systems there, lighting, traffic coordination, and so on. Energy is another case where smart grids people start to produce energy. How do we actually harmonize all of that stuff? That's actually happening now. There's applications that are happening. Us personally, we're active in smart city. Another one that is recent and I think very exciting is retail. So how can we actually use AI in the shops in order to reinvent the shopping experience and then give brick and mortar retailer real insights so that they can offer their customers something different. So that's another case where AI is happening. But then when you start working on real systems that have scale issues and networking problems and so on, we quickly get into the privacy sphere issue that Pierre Maudet mentioned, right? Which is really key. And so in Europe, we're fortunate we have GDPR, and Switzerland has adopted, by and large, the system. So what are the ways to confront this problem and provide shops that care about their brand to offer, using artificial intelligence, the mechanism such that there is no way we're violating the privacy sphere of customers, right?
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We have also a really interesting question for Dr. Bologna. What have been the biggest achievements in AI and the most efficient tasks that can be performed by a computer? I don't know, text recognition, face recognition.
So recently, yes, object recognition, speech recognition, translation. Huge progress has been accomplished in the last 5 years on these domains. There are also recommendation systems which are present everywhere in marketing. There are also systems that can calculate what is the sentiment for a new product that is presented on social networks. So if someone has a new product, he can see what is the sentiment of many people with Twitter, for instance. And so in marketing is very, very widely appearing. Well, every epoch has a different breakthrough. Now we are really in the area of deep learning, so many progress is accomplished in deep learning with many applications, even artistic applications with paintings. There are some virtual artists' paintings. Of course, the level of these artists is not so strong, but this is a beginning point. I mean, this is a starting point. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Allard, question for you. Your company develops software for engineers. How is AI used in engineering and design? What AI brings to these areas compared to a more traditional approach?
So maybe let's start with the traditional approach. So traditionally in the industry, let's take for example the car industry. So these industries, the business model is like you design a product for a couple of years, then your product is ready, you bring it to production, and then you sell actual objects to the end users. So what takes a long time is designing your product, making it ready to go to production. So, for example, with a car, what do you want your car to have? What qualities do you want your car to have, and how do you design your car so that it has these qualities? How do engineers work in that case? They try to design some car shapes. They decide on some materials to build the car. And then they need to test this. But the problem with these simulations is that they take very long. Each simulation can take hours, maybe for crash, which is very complicated. It can take like a day for a new shape. So what AI brings to that, how can it change this? Now we have artificial intelligence that is able to suggest new shape. So very early in the design process, instead of having an engineer manually deforming the shape, manually trying to find a nice shape, you can just train an AI, show the AI many shapes. You will show it like a Porsche, you will show it a Range Rover, then you will show it some any type of car. Instead of designing your products within years, you can design it within days. The good part with the AI is, since it's so quick, instead of trying and simulating 10 or 20 shapes, you can try millions maybe. So in the end, when you select one and you select this one because it's the best, you know it's the best out of millions of shapes, and there are very good chance that when you build the prototype, it will pass the field validation.
Okay, great, thank you. Another really interesting question is that, as you know, there has been the AI winter, and today everyone is talking about that. So why this excitement now?
Okay, so I am almost the historian of AI domain. So the AI winter, there were two in the AI history. There were two periods of what has been called winter. That means that period during which research was almost absent. There was no more funding. There was no more activity.
Because there are a lot of algorithms used today, but they were invented a long time ago.
Exactly. But the reason why there was this period with no activity in AI was mainly due to the absence of funding. At the very beginning, after the Dartmouth College Conference, there was a big enthusiasm about AI. There were the first algorithms, mainly in the learning, mainly in what was being called at that time expert systems. But the expectation was too high. And after a while, they discovered that the result was not there. And the funding was just dropped. They discovered that the method, the algorithms, the technique that had been invented at that time was very interesting. And so they took them again and they developed this. And this was taken by industries like you mentioned, Amazon, Google, Apple, etc. And they had their own in-house funding to do that. We could expect that by mixing techniques from many, many different domains, mathematics, statistics, psychology, AI could develop into more application domains than we see now.
Yeah. And today it works.
Recently, the University Hospital in Geneva has installed and is testing now a system based on AI to help doctors to understand all the medical images in order to diagnose very, very precisely very complex cancer situation. That is only possible with some AI techniques. The decision is still the decision of the physicians, obviously. But without AI techniques, he has very big difficulties to try to understand and to compare thousands of images.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We are already at the end of this first panel. So now we have Q&A session with you.
One question. So, in which field do you think the human is still better than AI?
When I hear this type of question, I always think, first of all the AIs we have for now, it's humans made the AI first. So already, like we haven't got AI that makes its own AI. So I think many people are scared of that, but we don't have that yet. And also in many fields, like earlier we mentioned, like creativity. So there's lots of work in generative models. It's like some types of AI algorithms that are able to generate, let's say, paintings, are able to generate music, but a very important thing to understand about AI algorithms, it's just that any type of AI is just an algorithm that learns a function. If you think in mathematical terms.
You say today, in 2019, AI is really dumb, right? As you're saying, it's an input-output function. When we're helping industrials automate processes and so on, it is actually a very straightforward job, okay, that doesn't require creativity. It's not displacing anything except some pretty mundane work. It's like the switch operator back in the 50s, right? We'd need to mobilize the human, the humanity to be switch operators just to switch our calls right now, right? So I think if we refocus onto what the problems we're trying to solve, and I'm sorry, I'm an engineer, so I'm fixing a problem right now, right? And I've got some, my colleagues to feed. We're lightways from this dystopian place. I'm not saying it's irrelevant and we shouldn't worry about it. But at the same time, there are real concrete problems we can work on. And these are, pretty simple because that's what we can actually do right now. And it is pretty simple. But it's great, and it works, and it can make a difference. Right? So just to refocus a bit on the short-term stuff, I think is super positive, and it has a great return on investment, and it makes a good impact.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So the final word is going to be, it works. Okay, thank you so much. And you can join your seats, maybe, please. Yeah. And now it's the great moments with our first live demo from Neural Concept. It's live demo time.
I work for a company called Neural Concept that develops AI-based technologies for engineering. And today I'm going to present you a short live demo about our technology. So I thought to demonstrate the power of our technology, it was good to take a practical example of some specific achievement. So first, I'd like to introduce you to the human-powered speed challenge. The goal is to go as fast as you can in a human-powered vehicle. So what most people come up with when they think about going as fast as possible in human-powered vehicles is this type of strange bicycle where the pilot doesn't sit on the bike but lays down in the bike. This is our software running in the cloud. And here is the bike. So you see some color on the bike. Basically, I won't enter into detail, but this color is the air resistance on the bike. So engineers know what should be the really good pattern in terms of color so that the bike goes really fast. And as I said earlier, a traditional way of getting this air resistance on the bike would be to run a simulation for hours. Let's see how it goes here. Here you see I have a shape. In the traditional way, if I change the shape a little bit, I would have to run the simulation within hours. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to design a new shape here. Here I'm going to apply the deformation. I have a new shape, and the color was updated. The air resistance was updated within seconds. What happened in the end is we designed that bike. The team built it out of carbon fiber, and the bike broke 2 world records. So it broke the female world record at a speed of 126.5 kilometers per hour, human-powered on a flat road. And it also broke the male university world record at 136.7 kilometers per hour. So this really demonstrated that AI-powered design can really help beat performance standards in the industry. That's the end of the demo.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Great story. And now we'll start with our second panel discussion. And here is our first guest. He received the Diploma of Engineering, Computer Science from École Nationale des Sciences de l'Informatique in Tunisia and a PhD degree in Computer Science from University of Valenciennes in France. Then he joined the Department of Computer Engineering at HEPIA as an assistant HES professor. Later, he was promoted to full HES professor. He is currently head of both the INIT Research Institute and the large-scale Distributed Systems Research Group. He is also the founder of 2 companies in Tunisia and Switzerland. Please help me in welcoming Professor Nabil Abdelnader. What a welcome. Wow. So, question for you. When did you become interested in AI and why?
AI came to my life, to my professional life, without my invitation. So,
why not?
Yeah. Initially, I come from, let's say, HPC community, high performance. HPC stands for high performance community, high performance computing community. So, during several years, I was involved with. I use it to deploy, to develop, to program high performance computing applications on parallel and distributed machines. Also called resource consuming applications or e-science applications. And the goal was to allow people, customers, so I come from University of Applied Science, so we are assumed to be very close to the industry, to the research, so we are not called University of Applied Science for nothing. So the goal was to let these people focus on their main business, main research, and not on complex IT issues that are outside the scope of their expertise. And in the 90s, we connected these parallel machines together to build or to set up what we called it at that time grid computing, to set up one big virtual computer. And this is what we called at that time grid computing. And I found myself gridifying all this, what I already deployed on parallel machines. Then in 2006 or 7, Amazon invented the cloud as it is today. And once again, I found myself cloudifying what I have already gridified. And I decided that in the futures, I would forbid to make artificial intelligence be part of my private life, let's say. So, believe me or not, this will guide my future research in the future.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. She provides affordable services to help companies develop their business and grow in Europe. She's an environmental resources engineer by education, a technology project and program manager experienced in product development. She has worked for giants, SixSq Systems, and Novartis for a total of nearly 15 years. In 2018 alone, 2 startups she is involved with in regional leadership roles raised over $5 million each, one of them from Google. Today, she talks about the general considerations and particular realities on the ground around developing a platform business that allows its customers to have better actionable artificial intelligence in near real time. Please give her a warm welcome, Mrs. Shalini Trefzer. Have you ever worked for a startup in a large company?
Yes, I have. As you can tell, we did discuss this.
Yeah.
So a little disclosure there. But I have, and I've done it twice. And I wanted to talk about one of those instances here today because it was a really defining project in my career. So at SixSq Systems in 2005, we released the world's first terabit routing system. For about 8 months before the first commercial ship, I was the engineering program manager responsible for this product, and all of the project teams who came together to make this happen reported into the program that I was managing. So I didn't have any direct reports, but I had plenty of dotted line responsibilities to just about everybody on that team. And it was just an absolutely amazing experience for me because when we started that process 8 months before the first commercial ship, the product was really all over the place, getting built, yes, but with plenty of problems, with an amazing team of people, but somehow there was something missing, which meant that hardware wasn't talking to manufacturing, wasn't talking to product development, wasn't talking to QA, and so on. Yeah. Basically taught me the importance of discovery, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So our next guest, he studied computer science at the Karl von Ossietzky University of Oldenburg in Germany. He obtained his PhD in 2010 at the Goethe University Frankfurt am Main. Afterwards, he continued his research at the National Institute of Informatics in Tokyo, Japan. Later, he joined HES Valais, where he first worked as a postdoc and then as a professor in the Institute of Business Information Systems. He founded the Smart Infrastructure Laboratory and has received several research grants. He is coordinator of the National Research Initiative Joint Activity Mobility. Furthermore, he is the deputy manager of the Special Interest Group for Artificial Intelligence and Cognitive Science. Please join your hands and give a warm welcome to Professor René Schumann. So the question for you will be, could you please tell us more about your specialty with AI?
So until one night, after a presentation at the university, I was still a student when someone presented that, you know, there's one planning system and then there's another planning system, and they're not independent. And that kept me quite puzzled, because I realized that night I worked for 2 or 3 years on the wrong problem. I barked on the wrong tree. And I woke up at 3 in the night, and I needed to go down and note all my thoughts, and that sort started then out making first my master's thesis, then my PhD thesis, and started also my postdoc. So that was one of those moments in science where you really like, because you got infected by a problem, it hits you, and it keeps you busy for quite a long time.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much. So, Our next expert, he holds a master's degree of information systems of the University of Geneva. In 1997, he was also a pioneer in virtual reality. Over 20 years of professional leadership in IT, data, and finance led him to approach technology as a way to unlock value creation through innovation. He worked for an international trading company, one of the biggest internet companies, before joining one of the most prestigious banks in Geneva, and also launching his startup dealing with data. He just came back from the US with a certificate of applied artificial intelligence from the well-known MIT. He's the director of IT at the bank Piguet-Galland. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Jordi Domenech.
Hello, everyone.
It's okay, this one works. Okay, so the question for you will be first virtual reality, then big data, and now artificial intelligence. How does this relate to the traditional approach of the banking industry? You want us to put on our headsets to talk with a robot advisor?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay.
Of course, I will be the boring guy from the finance industry, not some fancy university research. I'll be applying every technology in the field. And banks are pretty traditional fields, but it's not because they're traditional that there's not innovation in them. Because they're traditional in three senses: traditional in service, traditional in finance, of course, and traditional in trust. Service, we all are accustomed to have a different way of dealing with our service. We all have mobile devices, we expect something. We reserve our airplanes in a couple of clicks. So we expect also that from our banks. We're not dealing with the banks as we used to. Banks like Revolut or things like this are moving the banking industry. But then there's also finance itself. Finance gets more and more complicated, and there's a huge place there for automation and actually even for robot advisory and trust. Because as was mentioned, Pierre-Modé mentioned, there is a huge cyber risk, and having trust inside banks is also, we're not getting robbed with a guy with a gun anymore. We're getting robbed by countries or by individuals with computers. So we have to deal this with also computers and not guns. So I'm not carrying a gun, but I do have a computer.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, so this panel is about the impact of AI on business and society. Do people accept easily using AI technologies? If not, how to convince them?
Okay. So first of all, digitalization today it belongs to our life. And we expect, or we can expect, that in the near future, AI-based technology will be part of our everyday life. Think about smartphone, drones, self-driving cars, spoken language, digital assistants, etc. Of course, we must take advantage of these opportunities because it will provide new jobs, new market, maybe extend already existed market. But also there are kind of fears associated to loss of jobs, loss of freedom, individual freedom, loss of control over AI machines. So regarding the AI, my point of view is that the main barriers that could prevent AI reaching this plateau of production could be or will be the social acceptability. So to mitigate this risk, as IT engineering or IT research, we should work together, or let's say also early adopters, we should work together with social science research in order to avoid this risk. So we have to popularize or to explain what is AI, what are the risks, what are the opportunities. I'm in the domain of energy, electrical energy. Today we have the figure which is in top left. We have centralized architecture, one supplier, one electric supplier. Everybody is connected to this to this infrastructure. This infrastructure is controlled by our utility supplier. The rates are also fixed by the suppliers. But in the near future, and even today, we have new form of renewable energies. This is the green box you have here. It should be AI-based technology within these boxes that predict consumptions and productions. Now, if I go inside this microgrid, I could find different operators or different stakeholders. I could find households, I could find also mobile devices, and within each of these stakeholders, I can have this box with different colors, as you see here, because we will have different types. So, to do that, we need artificial intelligence. The problem is, do you accept as a user or as a consumer to have in your house, at home, a kind of a box connected to your internet, connected to the electrical grid, that will be connected also to all your appliances, washing machine, dishing machines, etc., that will spy also your consumption and production, that will negotiate and communicate with the neighbor. Maybe it also will charge or credit your credit card because you will negotiate transaction with your neighbors. That's the problem or the question of what I'm calling social acceptability. So that's the problem we are dealing with today.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So now we'll talk a bit about business, with society and business. So for Mrs. Trefzer, could you please share with us an example of how AI is enabling capabilities for companies?
Sure. I can give you one example, in fact, that we were dealing with today. And I work closely with Marc-Elian Bejean of SixSq on behalf of HEPIA. And one of the problems we're trying to solve for is where is edge enablement bringing value to society, to the markets, etc. And he mentioned in that panel this use case around luxury retail. And this is one concrete example of what is possible for you, not just as a luxury retail consumer, but let's say as a producer of energy as well. So in the luxury retail use case, you're thinking about a capability enablement, which is that a consumer walks in by recognizing this person and their historical shopping patterns. You're able to give them some manner of enablement if they buy in. You can also examine that from the point of view of an energy producer to say that I can predict how much energy is coming into my mixed source grid, for instance. How much are my home consumers bringing into the grid? How much solar energy am I generating? How much coal-based energy am I generating? And how much demand am I going to have coming up next month? So I will adjust my energy savings accordingly as well. So it's really coming down to two things in my mind when it comes to a business application. It is all about capability enablement. What can you do at the edge if you can run real-time intelligence there, if you can run AI modules close to the edge, what's capable, what kind of capability can you bring forward to your customers by doing that? So I think this is the useful angle to examine this problem from.
Okay, thank you so much. But there's actually another problem with AI is the explainability. Machine learning, normally algorithms are often complex and opaque in the way they reach a conclusion, a prediction, or a decision. Algorithms will need to be made increasingly transparent when they make decisions. What do you think, Professor Schumann?
Yes, for the moment, if no one knows how to do it nowadays, they say, let's apply AI. And that's a little bit the vogue. And we see in the different geographic areas, in the big research areas, in the big business areas, we see different approaches on how people do this. Like there's this classical, if it works, then we apply it. That's what you see more in the Asian area. You see more this philosophy, if we can make a product out of it, we use it. That's more the, I would say, Anglo-American version. And also what we heard today notes in a little bit different direction. We heard that AI it's about acceptance. We heard also from the questions, what's about deepfake, what's about the ethical issues. So this is something where the explainable AI hooks in. However, I'm not so sure we really need full explainable AI. So, I mean, question to all of you, who can drive a car? Yeah. That was, and all the rest just was already asleep for not raising their hand. So who can explain me in detail how your injection of fuel, the computer works in your engine? Because every of your engine or every car has such a computer that controls fuel injection. Okay, one. So obviously there is something between, okay, I really understand it, to I can use it. So what we probably will really need is usable and reliable AI. And for that, I can give you an example. So another thing, a simple question, what do you see? Well, you can ask your neighbor, and I bet most of you will agree with the neighbor what they see. Well, this is not what your favorite image recognition AI will see. Because this is a bit of a trick, it's an adversarial image. Your favorite AI, you know, I'm from Valais, so this is important for us, will actually see this. So we need somehow reliability in what gets predicted, which for the moment our AI systems are not very good in. They're pretty good in very specialized tasks, but they're extremely not robust against any small changes. And okay, this is just for making a cover, and for me living in Valais, it's a very, very nice example always. This goes with traffic signs, this goes with what we had in our deepfake, who's friend, who's enemy detection. Well, if I just need to change 5-6 pixels in a picture, and I change the meaning, that's probably not so good.
Great, thank you so much, great. We'll talk a bit about the banking area, because of course it's really important in Geneva, in Switzerland, and everywhere, and the economy as well. What are actually the current AI applications you're using in your bank?
As I was mentioning, security is a big part of it. And we have to specify, as it was mentioned before, that AI actually is a lot of fields. So we can separate machine learning, natural language processing, or even robotics. So we take one of each. If we say machine learning, just for security, we have systems actually model the normal behavior of an external customer, the way it's connecting. And it's learning the way it's connecting. And anytime it detects like a big variation, unusual variation of the way that person is connecting, it stops, saying that's not normal. That person usually connects twice a month, usually at that time at night, and now he's connecting, he's trying to connect at least 10 times a minute during that time of day. So we learn normal patterns of behavior, and whenever we deviate from those patterns, then there's an alert. That part of being able to model a behavior, to learn a behavior, and detect anything that gets out of that behavior is very useful for the part of security. That's the, let's say, the machine learning part of it. Then we have the natural language processing, and banks we're obligated to assess the level of risk of persons. So we ask them, what do you think about yourself? People usually say, they pretty much lie every time. They say, I'm kind of a rock star, I'm a cowboy, and then you kind of read their emails and they're using negative words, they're afraid, and whenever they lose 10 Swiss francs, they're just freaking out. Actually, we're obligated to assess the real risk, but also the subjective risk. That's where actually law begins to be complicated. We have to be subjectively assessing the risk of our customers against themselves, because they will say, no, actually, I'm a pretty aggressive kind of guy, but not really. And we don't have the time to play poker with them, so we have to learn that through their exchange of email, to the tone of voice, to the spaces when they speak. And so natural language processing is a huge helper there. And robotics is actually used a lot in order to automate tedious tasks that we do in back offices or even in certain departments where you just open that file, you copy that, you paste it here, and so on and so on and so on. Of course, that raises questions like Pierre was saying about employability, because actually you're giving away your job to a robot. But the job you're giving away, really, you didn't want to do it anyway. So I don't think you're losing anything there.
Well, thank you. That was really interesting. Thank you so much. As we're talking about society, there's an application of AI in society which is really important. It's about autonomous cars. Okay, so let's have a look at this video. So look carefully. Okay. So, what do you think? Which one is the autonomous vehicle? Who think it's the white one, the white car? Raise your hand. White? Okay, not so many people. The black car, a bit more. And there's another. The truck, maybe? The truck? Okay. Well, actually, it's not one, not two, but the three vehicles. Three vehicles autonomous. It's an experience by Professor Martin Steinboer in the Netherlands. I think it's time to have our next Q&A session with you. So Q&A session with you. So first question.
Usually human beings, they only ask for something that they used to know. But with the AI, it's so many opportunities are being unlocked. How is it possible to understand, to know where or how I can use AI in my current business? Is there any toolbox or something like that?
I can give that one a shot. So just to tie this back to the story that I started in the beginning and went really long-winded, that particular scenario worked because of cohesion and capability and enablement. And there was very clear understanding of what we were enabling and why and for whom, and therefore the team was able to come together around it. So instead of saying, do I need an AI strategy, or what should AI be doing for me, put that thought aside for just a moment and think about what capabilities do I want to enable and for whom and why and when. And then the answers will start coming in terms of what can quote unquote AI do for me. And even there, break it down and say, is this a machine learning problem? Is this a robotics problem? A much more practical way of looking at this issue is really to say, who is my customer as a business? What am I doing for them? What will my application of any of these machine learning or NLP technologies give to that customer? Will it increase their revenue? Will it decrease their cost? Will it help them save on energy in their processes? That's potentially a more practical way of looking at it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's go for the third panel. So that's about the future. Everyone is wondering what's going to happen next. Is the Holy Grail the famous general problem solver? For AI researchers, what's the holy grail in AI?
Okay, if I will make a short answer, I will say just no. But maybe with a little bit more elaboration. So the general problem solver was a claim made by Newell and Simon in the 60s. It was based mostly on the interesting result they got at the very beginning of the AI development. And so they were so enthusiastic that they say, so in a couple of years, we will have only one system that will solve every problem. Whatever the domain, whatever the field, one system will just give you the answer. Obviously, since the application of AI techniques and AI algorithms in so many different domains, like biomedical, like technology, we notice that it's impossible because the characteristic of each domain is so special that one system cannot take care of everything. So I will say that this general problem solver objective was just some sort of a dream.
In AI, there are two communities about this argument. There is strong AI that think, yes, it will be possible one day. And weak AI says, no, it's not possible. So we don't know where is the truth at the moment. There are some people saying, well, there will be the singularity when machines will build other machines, for instance. So who to believe? That's the question. For me, there will be no future without transparency, because right now we have these huge neural models, which are very deep and are very difficult to understand. It's very difficult to understand their answers. But if we cannot understand their answers, it's very dangerous, because they could be out of control one day. So transparency is really fundamental right now for the future, even with those very complex models.
And is the convergence of all the subfields in one big algorithm that could reason about any problem? Is it the future as well?
Well, I would say,
like the big general problem solver.
They are trying experiments. For instance, robots in an unknown environment, and they have some capabilities to grasp objects, but they don't know how to grasp objects and how they can learn to learn. That's the main question. And this is going on by Google, for instance.
By the way, you were talking about robots. Let's have a look at this video. Well, this is not the future or science fiction. This is reality. This is today. And now it's going out, coming maybe to your home. Great. Excellent. So, your thoughts, impressions? Outstanding, right?
A very interesting question is, from the capabilities, and this is like this classical, if you know what the machine needs to do, we can build the machine very easily. The question is, okay, it's Halloween night, so when we talk about dreams on AI, maybe it's not becoming too nightmarish here. But the point is, these movements on the physics are very impressive. The question is how much has been pre-programmed and how much has been deducted by the machine, so planned by the machine.
So about the singularity, maybe someone has an idea. So do you know what a singularity is?
Singularity
Raise your hand. No, not so many people. Maybe you can explain.
Yeah, it's actually a book and a theory from Ray Kurzweil saying that at one point wherein exponential technologies will reach a certain point, the exponentiality will actually reach a singularity. But in order to be in a singularity, first we have to start thinking to exponential technologies. And exponential technologies, we already start to see them today. Data, as we speak about big data, actually we're creating 90% of the data today in the world has been created in the 18 last months. So we're in exponential data growth. Today, every minute, we're producing such amounts of data with IoT devices, with our phones, or even our behaviors that are beyond computational power to tackle all that data. And everything starts going to a certain point. It is believed, like a religious belief, that we actually will live in a world immortal by 2045. So if you can stick to that point, you will connect to an interface and you can Google directly with your brain. That's how they reckon. But it looks like a religion because they promise you immortality. They don't solve any of the problems today, but they think that there's tomorrow everything will be solved. Okay. You don't know where, how, why, but if you do everything by the way of exploring, using data, then everything will be solved. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Interesting thought, anyway.
Okay, amazing. Do you know Nick Bostrom? So Nick Bostrom is a famous scientist and philosopher, author of Super Intelligence, Path, Dangers, and Strategies. And he said that AI is not just one more cool technology advance, or not just one more interesting gadget. And once we succeed to mechanize intelligence, once a machine can do research, the transition to super intelligence cannot be avoided. What do you think, Professor Schumann?
We start with a question that actually my colleague brought initially, like what is this idea of intelligence itself? So before we can embody it and put it into something, we might have a better idea of what this is. And also, I'm a researcher, but if you ask me what is research or what constitutes the research, is it just a robot that executes thousands of biochemical experiments automatically and then just records which work or not work? Well, that's just execution. The research itself has always this creative, uncommon thinking. And now all machine learning is converging to common. It takes common behavior, it takes common patterns out of data, it's a common things out of something. I strongly doubt that research in that sense can be done by machines. AI can support researchers, can accelerate research processes, but the core of itself, I think that's what will not be attacked by machines for what I will see in my life.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's go for the Q&A session.
My question to you is, are these ingredients enough to get us to artificial general intelligence, or are we missing some ingredients? For example, neural networks have existed as algorithms for a long time, but their utility has only been recognized over the last decade or so because computational power and data have both come to a level where they can actually be useful to us. So are the current set of ingredients enough to reach artificial general intelligence, or are we missing something? What could be that something?
Probably one of the first questions is, what's about the motivation to build it? So one thing is obviously what is technically available. And if you have asked me 20 years ago about neural networks, I would be with the total majority saying it's dead. We have done what we could. So predicting on these things is, as Niels Bohr once quoted, not very easy. However, this idea of the general artificial intelligence, which is the same as a general problem solver, and to some extent, I think that was the first wave of AI. And there we had hoped it would be easy. It turned out playing chess is pretty easy, walking is pretty hard, which at least for AI. For us humans, it's pretty much the inverse. So we underestimate constantly what is easy and what is complex, because for us it's super easy. It's super easy to detect this big image. For a machine, it's super hard because it will do mistakes. So in that sense, for us, it's pretty hard to estimate because we actually don't understand enough from our own intelligence, to point back here, to really state what is this artificial intelligence at all. And I still don't see really the motivation of someone that wants to go and building an general artificial intelligence. We have very, very specialized systems, and they are pretty in research intensive. So who wants to have a general AI? What is the intention and what's the interest of that person?
As you said, what's the motivation? Well, that's the same thing that we're talking about in terms of reaching super intelligence, for example, right? So that was my question to you.
Perhaps I can answer. Yes, very currently there are some news about quantum superiority, quantum computers. Perhaps what is still missing is a quantum computer, which is much powerful. With that, perhaps we'll reach superior intelligence. Perhaps. But this is just the beginning.
What I'm going to show you is what we can do right now, and I basically materialize a very simple demonstration here, is how do we transform data into information at the edge, okay? And how is this an enablement platform in order to process data at the edge using AI? So here I have a very simple demonstration. This is a Raspberry Pi. If it's a single board computer. It's worth about 25 euros, I think, this one. And it basically just runs some of our software, and it turns this little computer into an edge device. Okay, it could be a half-rack system, or it could be as small as this little computer. What's connected to it is a small webcam here, so that's my sensor. And the challenge is, how do I materialize at the edge some AI system, okay, remotely? So what we're going to do is to basically use an application app store in our software. We'll deploy a message bus in the cloud. So we'll deploy a little piece of software in the cloud that will receive messages. And what messages will be is that we have that little device connected to the webcam, and because we'll deploy a little AI module into it, it'll detect objects or people. So now, if I move around, then the green stuff and the dots are objects it's trying to track. You tell me when you see messages.
Okay, video analysis message, motion detected.
Oh, there it works.
Okay, great, please. It works.
So what I've done, I've basically materialized in whatever, I don't remember how many minutes, but an edge system, and allow basically any AI application, as long as it can run on that device, right? Remotely, I'm able to materialize AI at this place.
That's great, and this is a real-world application. Thank you so much, Mr. Bégin. It's almost the end. In conclusion, we can say that this is either the ultimate stage of human intelligence or the beginning of its decline. This could summarize the two facets of artificial intelligence. Stephen Hawking had predicted creating artificial intelligence would be the greatest event in human history, but it could also be its final achievement. Making life easier, longer, these are the few reasons invoked by admirers of AI. Dangerous for some, endless opportunities for others. All agree that we are witnessing the beginning of a new era of intelligent technologies, unique in the history of science and humanity. It's up to human beings to harness this endless source of progress. These will be our final words for tonight. I want to thank the sponsors and the partners, Elfie, Hepia, Piguet Galland. Thank you to all the team, François, Petros, the video master, Christophe, the AV guy, Fanny, Christian, Aaron, Reese, Justin, Pascal, Nabil, Thierry, Luca for the music, and all the other great people. Thank you to our brilliant, awesome, and passionate panelists. It has been an outstanding panel. Thank you so much for coming. Do not miss the networking session right now. Thank you again. Hopefully you were surprised, got excited, and have been inspired. Good night.